Listen, folks, before they regret losing you, there's always a shift. It's quiet, invisible, and psychological. No one talks about it because it doesn't look dramatic enough for movies. But this is where the real story begins. It's the phase where emotional energy starts to flip. You see, energy between two people doesn't vanish, it reverses. The person who once had control starts feeling empty, and the one who once felt powerless starts regaining strength. That's the pre-regret phase. The moment right before the storm hits. When someone rejects you, they feel inflated with ego for a while. It gives them an illusion of control, like they're standing on top of a mountain they didn't even climb. But ego has a short battery life. Once that fake charge runs out, they begin to feel what they pushed away. Meanwhile, you, heartbroken, confused, trying to make sense of it all, start healing. Slowly, your energy pulls back. You're no longer feeding their power, and that's when something strange happens. They start craving the very presence they took for granted. Think of it like fire and oxygen. In the beginning, you gave them all your air, and the fire burned wild. But once you pull back and protect your oxygen, the fire begins to choke. That's human psychology. The rejecter only feels their mistake when the warmth they once ignored turns to cold distance. They start feeling that emptiness, wondering where the validation went. That's when they begin replaying your words, missing your voice, remembering the peace they used to feel around you. And guess what? That's not nostalgia, it's imbalance. Their mind is trying to fix what their pride broke. My friends, don't chase them. The pre-regret phase works only when you stop doing the emotional labor. Detachment is not coldness, it's self-respect. It's choosing silence instead of begging. It's letting them feel the loss instead of explaining it. When you take back your energy, you trigger the reversal. Their subconscious starts chasing, long before their ego admits it. That's when the real power shifts. Stoicism teaches us to master what we can control and release what we can't. You can't control who values you, but you can control how long you keep offering your peace to someone who doesn't. Let time do what your words can't. Let distance do what your love tried to. Because the moment you let go, the universe begins rearranging the balance. And believe me, it always balances. They'll start missing you when your absence becomes louder than your presence ever was. They'll think about you when silence starts screaming louder than your words. They'll realize your worth when no one else gives them the same peace you once gave without asking for anything back. That's the pre-regret phase, the quiet revenge of emotional maturity. You don't need to prove you were worthy. Life already proves that for you. Just hold your ground. The calmest people always win in the end. Stay detached, stay focused, stay graceful. Because when you rise above the noise, they'll have no choice but to face the silence they created. And that silence will sound a lot like your name. So here's what I want you to do, my friends. Pause for a second. Feel that silence that's been sitting between you and them. That's not emptiness. That's you taking your energy back. That's power returning home. That's your self-respect walking through the door again after you let too many people borrow it. You've been running on heartbreak fumes long enough. Now it's time to breathe your own air again. Type it in the comments right now. I'm reclaiming my energy. Don't just write it like a quote. Write it like a contract with yourself. Every word you type is proof that you're no longer begging to be seen. You're done chasing what can't even meet your level. You're done explaining your worth to people who need subtitles to understand love. You are stepping into your calm era where your silence hits harder than their mixed signals ever did. If something inside you just clicked, if you felt that little spark of peace in your chest, that's your power coming back online. That's the moment your story shifts. So press that like button right now if you felt it, because that click wasn't just a video thing, it was a spiritual thing. You just crossed over from waiting for closure to becoming the closure. Subscribe if you're ready to keep walking this road of strength and clarity with me. We're not chasing anymore. We're choosing. We're not proving anymore. We're becoming. Stay with me, because what's coming next will make you unstoppable. You just stepped into your comeback season, and it starts right here, right now. Number 1. The attention detox. How your silence scrambles their dopamine system. There's a point, my friends, where silence becomes more powerful than any message you could ever send. It's not about ignoring them out of bitterness. It's about understanding that human attention is a drug, and you were their supplier. Every reply, every laugh, every ounce of care you gave them fed a chemical loop in their brain that made them feel significant. They didn't love your silence. They loved your reaction. They didn't fall for your soul. They fell for the reflection of themselves in your attention. And once you pull that away, their mind starts to shake. That's what I call an attention detox. You see, when someone gets used to your constant emotional presence, they build their peace on it. They get addicted to it without realizing it. It's not just emotional, it's neurological. Dopamine, the chemical of reward, fires every time you show them care. When that care disappears, the reward system collapses. Their brain literally malfunctions, searching for the high it once got from you. They'll scroll through old messages like an addict, checking an empty bottle, trying to find the same hit that once made them feel alive. That's why silence isn't weakness, it's biochemical warfare. You're not punishing them, you're interrupting their addiction cycle. You're cutting off their access to the emotional drug you once handed out so freely. And yes, at first, they might not show it. They might act unaffected. They'll post, distract, flirt, or even pretend they've upgraded. But deep down, their nervous system knows something's missing. It's the same reason people check their phones, even when no one's texting. It's not curiosity, it's craving. Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." And that's exactly what happens during an attention detox. When you go silent, they're forced to meet the version of themselves they hid behind your love. Without your reassurance, they start realizing how empty their validation truly is. They thought they wanted freedom. What they really wanted was distraction. And now there's nothing left to distract them from their own reflection. You might ask, but what if they don't care? What if they never miss me? That's fear talking, not truth. The human mind always reacts to loss. It just hides it behind pride. Silence triggers a delayed reaction. It's like quitting sugar. You don't feel the crash immediately, but when it hits, it's brutal. They'll feel restless without knowing why. They'll scroll social media at midnight, looking for stimulation, but nothing will hit the same. Every face feels shallow. Every new person feels like background noise, because the one source that made them feel something, you, has gone offline. And yes, this part will hurt, because while they go through withdrawal, you'll feel the ache of detachment too. You'll want to reach out, to check if they're okay, to break the silence. But remember this, every time you give in, you restart their dopamine cycle. You reattach their addiction, you become the supplier again, and they go back to taking you for granted. That's why Stoicism teaches control over impulse. You're not fighting them, you're fighting your own urge to rescue what's not ready to heal. Think of it like tending a fire. When someone keeps taking your warmth and giving nothing back, eventually you have to stop adding wood. Let the flames die down. Not out of anger, but to protect your own energy. Because when the fire finally fades, they'll realize how cold the world feels without it. That's the beauty of detachment. It doesn't need revenge. It lets reality do the teaching. This detox, however, isn't easy. It demands discipline. It demands you to sit with silence, to resist the temptation of quick comfort. Your mind will scream that you're losing them. Your heart will want to break the stillness. But remember this: real power never chases validation. It creates it. The one who can stay still while the world panics always wins in the long run. You're not being cold, you're being calculated with your peace. Over time, their messages will sound different, their tone will soften, their words will carry curiosity, then nostalgia, then confusion. Why did you change? They'll ask. The truth is, you didn't. You just stopped feeding the illusion that they were the center of your world. And that's when they start to feel what you once felt: the imbalance, the uncertainty, the sting of not being prioritized. The roles reverse naturally, without games. This isn't manipulation, it's nature. It's the restoration of balance between two energies. The more centered you become, the more they feel the vacuum of your absence. They'll come face to face with their own emotional hunger. And for the first time, they'll understand what it's like to crave something that can't be bought, begged for, or replaced. My friends, that's the quiet power of an attention detox. It's not about making them miss you, it's about making yourself unshakable. When you no longer need to be seen to feel valuable, the whole world starts noticing. Your silence becomes magnetic, your peace becomes a signal of strength. The one who left starts orbiting around the calm they couldn't find anywhere else. That's the law of emotional gravity. It always pulls back toward what's real. So don't fear the quiet. Embrace it like a monk embraces solitude. Every minute you stay detached, you're reprogramming your own nervous system to find peace without permission. You're no longer surviving on someone else's attention. You're feeding your own light, and once you reach that level of stillness, their regret won't even matter anymore. It'll just be background noise against the sound of your evolution. Write this in the comments right now. My silence is my strength. Because it is. Every second you hold your ground, you remind the universe that your worth was never up for negotiation. You're not starving for attention, you're mastering yourself. And the one who masters silence, my friends, masters everything. Number 2. The mirror effect. How your detachment forces them to see themselves. There's something eerie that happens when you finally stop trying to be understood. Your silence turns into a mirror. Every person who once ran from accountability, every one of them who pointed fingers, suddenly finds themselves face to face with the truth they've been avoiding. That's what I call the mirror effect. It's not revenge. It's reflection. It's what happens when your emotional detachment removes their favorite hiding place, you. When you were attached, you gave them an escape route from their own flaws. Every time they hurt you, you forgave too fast. Every time they dismissed you, you tried harder. You became the emotional filter through which they avoided their own guilt. But once you detach, the filter disappears. Now, there's nothing left for them to project on, and for the first time, they have to look inward. Think about it like a lake. When the water is stormy, no one can see their reflection. But when it goes still, it exposes everything. That's your silence. It's the still water that shows them who they've become. Every cruel word echoes back. Every lie reverberates. Every fake sense of superiority collapses under its own weight. The moment you stop engaging, they start drowning in the image of themselves they kept trying to escape. And this, my friends, is where their real regret begins. Not because they suddenly miss you, but because they can't hide from the version of themselves they were when they lost you. Jung said that everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. But most people never stay long enough to face that reflection. They run. They distract themselves. They replace you, thinking a new face will erase the guilt. But the human psyche doesn't work that way. The mirror effect follows them everywhere, whispering reminders of the love they mishandled. You might ask yourself, if they finally see it, why don't they come back right away? Because facing truth hurts more than loneliness. Admitting they broke something pure requires more courage than pretending they're fine. That's why they'll act unbothered, post their highlights, laugh louder than usual. But behind that noise is discomfort, an internal chaos caused by the absence of someone who made them feel seen without masks. You were that mirror of purity, and now that you're gone, they can't find that version of themselves anywhere else. The mirror effect is brutal because it doesn't shout, it whispers, it creeps up when they're alone, when the phone goes silent, when the new person doesn't laugh the same way you did. It reminds them that the problem wasn't you. It was the emptiness they brought into every connection. They'll start to realize that the love they rejected was the test they failed. You didn't lose them. They lost their own reflection. And this is where stoicism saves you, because while they spiral in guilt and confusion, you stand still. You no longer need to convince anyone of your value. You no longer carry the burden of their emotional immaturity. Your detachment becomes your shield. Your peace becomes your proof. They'll see it and feel small, not because you tried to make them, but because you finally stopped shrinking to fit their comfort. Every human eventually meets their mirror moment. Some grow from it, some break. But your only duty is to remain calm, remain centered, and let life teach them what you no longer have to. Their guilt is their teacher now. Their loneliness is their reflection. Their regret is the mirror they can't escape. So remember this, your silence isn't punishment, it's prophecy. When you walked away, you handed them the mirror of truth. They can deny it for a while, but eventually it'll show them everything they refuse to see. Write this in the comments, my friends. My silence shows truth. Because it does. You're not running anymore. You're reflecting. You're standing tall while life forces them to face themselves. And that's the most powerful kind of justice there is. Number 4. Cognitive dissonance, the breaking point of their justifications. It always starts quietly. At first, they tell themselves they made the right choice. They rehearse it like a mantra. It wasn't meant to be. I needed space. They were too much. They say these things to themselves and others until the words feel real. But the human mind has limits, my friends. You can lie to others forever, but you can't lie to your nervous system. That's where cognitive dissonance begins, the mental war between illusion and truth. They told themselves walking away would bring peace, but peace isn't what they found. What they found was silence that doesn't comfort, it echoes. They told themselves you weren't the one, yet every new person they meet feels like a knockoff version of something genuine they threw away. The brain starts splitting in two directions. One side clings to pride, the other aches for honesty, and no matter how long they try to hold both, one starts to crack. Cognitive dissonance feels like being pulled apart by invisible hands. It's waking up with an unexplained heaviness. It's laughing while something inside feels hollow. It's defending a decision they no longer believe in. Carl Jung said that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That's exactly what happens here. Their unconscious starts screaming that they lost something real, while their ego keeps pretending they're fine. The tension between those two voices grows unbearable. They'll rewrite history to cope. They'll exaggerate your flaws, twist memories, invent reasons for leaving. It's their mind's desperate attempt to reduce the internal chaos. Because if they admit they lost something pure, they have to face themselves, the selfishness, the fear, the emotional immaturity. So they double down on the lie. But here's the thing. Truth doesn't care how well you hide it. It keeps showing up in the cracks. It appears in songs, in dreams, in moments they can't explain. It's that sudden lump in the throat when they see someone with your eyes. It's that rush of emotion when they hear a phrase you used to say. Reality always collects what denial borrows. You might think, but if they're realizing it, why don't they come back? Because dissonance paralyzes before it awakens. They're still fighting to make the lie fit, even as it burns holes in their peace. Coming back means admitting they were wrong, and for some, that's a mountain too high to climb. So they hover in limbo, pretending, posting, performing, while their subconscious slowly dismantles their excuses one by one. This is where regret is born. Not from loss, but from realization. Regret grows in the silence between their justifications and their truth. It's that ache in the chest they can't name. It's their body remembering the safety of your presence, even when their mind denies it. They'll try to replicate you, copy the connection, recreate the feeling, but nothing will match because you weren't an experience, you were an awakening. You mirrored a depth they didn't know they were capable of feeling. So don't break your silence to remind them. Let their own thoughts do the work. Their dissonance is the punishment. Their sleeplessness is the confession. You don't have to say a word. Their conscience will do it for you. Over time, the lie collapses under its own weight, and the truth stands untouched. That's when they finally face the unbearable fact. They didn't reject you. They rejected their own readiness to be loved. My friends, the mind always seeks alignment with truth. It might resist it for months, but it always returns home. And when it does, regret isn't gentle, it's a reckoning. So hold your stillness, stay detached. Every day you remain calm, their internal chaos grows louder. They'll replay it all, they'll see it all, and they'll know they lost something real while chasing comfort. Write this in the comments right now. Truth always wins, because it does. Every lie breaks under pressure, but the truth, your truth, never moves. Stay grounded, stay quiet, stay free. Their mind will find its way back to honesty, and when it does, it'll see you standing there, untouched, unbothered, unshaken. Number 5. The phantom connection, why they still feel you, even when you're gone. It's wild, my friends, how people think they can just move on, like love is a switch you flip off. The truth is far less poetic and far more biological. When you've shared a deep emotional bond with someone, your presence doesn't just vanish from their life, it stays embedded in their nervous system. That's what I call the phantom connection. Just like a soldier who loses a limb but still feels it itching, the one who lost you still feels your energy. Because the body remembers what the mind tries to forget. Science calls it emotional imprinting. Every time they saw you, touched you, heard your voice, their brain released neurochemicals, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin. These chemicals built patterns, pathways, and emotional anchors. In simple terms, your love rewired their biology. You became a trigger for calm, for reward, for meaning. When that connection breaks, the brain doesn't know it's over. It just knows it's missing its source of stability. And that's where the ache begins. They'll try to replace it, of course. Everyone does. Distractions, rebounds, noise, parties, scrolling. But no amount of stimulation fills the silence your absence leaves behind. Because what they miss isn't just you. It's the chemical balance you created inside them. It's the peace their brain associated with your presence. It's the safety of being understood without performance. They'll try to replicate it with someone new, but their subconscious knows better. Every scent that reminds them of you, every song that hits a certain chord, every place that still hums with your memory, it all pulls them back into that emotional loop. That's the phantom connection at work. Imagine it like a shadow that refuses to fade. They might not talk about it, but they'll feel it in strange ways. Maybe they wake up one morning with your name in their mind for no reason. Maybe they smell your perfume on a stranger and feel a sudden wave of emotion. Maybe they catch themselves checking your profile, even though they swore they'd moved on. That's not coincidence, it's conditioning. The emotional residue still lives in their sensory memory, waiting to be reactivated. And the cruel irony is, the more they fight it, the stronger it gets. Because suppression isn't healing, it's denial. The human brain doesn't delete, it archives. The more they try to bury your memory, the deeper it engraves itself. Jung would have called it the return of the repressed, the psyche's way of reminding you that unprocessed emotion always finds its way back to the surface. You don't disappear from their mind. You hide in the spaces between their distractions. They'll laugh and talk like they're fine, but their biology disagrees. Their heart rate spikes at your name. Their pupils dilate when they see you unexpectedly. Their chest tightens when a song drags them back to the past. It's not romantic, it's neurological. You live in their chemistry. That's why even if they forget your words, they can't forget how they felt around you. Because emotions don't fade, they echo. You might wonder, if they still feel me, why don't they come back? Because feeling you and admitting they miss you are two very different things. Pride will keep them silent long after their body has already surrendered. They'll pretend they're healed, but inside, the phantom connection keeps pulsing, like a song stuck on repeat, haunting them in quiet moments. They can silence their phone, but not their nervous system. This is where stoicism comes in, because while they wrestle with their ghosts, you've learned to find peace in detachment. You're no longer haunted, you're healed. You no longer crave closure, you create it. The connection still exists, but now it's your strength, not your chain. You understand that what lingers in their mind isn't your responsibility anymore. You left your mark, and now you walk freely. So don't mistake silence for indifference. Don't think distance means disconnection. Emotional energy doesn't vanish, it transforms. You became a part of their inner world, whether they admit it or not. And that, my friends, is the power of authenticity. They can move cities, delete photos, fall into new arms. But the phantom connection stays, because you were never just another chapter. You were the book that rewired how they understand love. Write this in the comments right now. They still feel me. Because they do. Not out of magic, but biology. Not because of obsession, but impact. You imprinted on their system, and no matter where life takes them, a part of them will always pulse to the rhythm of what you once were together. Stay calm, stay grounded, stay free. Their memory might chase you, but your peace means you never have to turn back. Number 6. The subconscious pull, when their mind starts reaching out without permission. There comes a strange moment, my friends, when the person who once ran from you starts to feel you in ways they can't explain. It doesn't begin with words or logic. It begins in the background of their mind. quietly, subtly, like a faint radio signal that won't turn off. That's the subconscious pull. It's not fantasy. It's not wishful thinking. It's the result of something psychology calls emotional synchronization lag. When two connected minds drift out of sync, and one begins to feel what the other already lived through, just delayed in time. You felt the pain first. You carried the confusion, the loss, the endless mental reruns of why. While you were breaking down, they were fine, or so it looked. That's the lag. You processed it early because your emotions were awake, honest, alive. They buried theirs. They stayed busy, distracted, detached. But here's what happens. The mind can delay emotion, but it can't erase it. Once your energy pulls back, once your heart stabilizes, the frequency shifts. And that's when they start feeling everything you already survived. It begins in dreams. Out of nowhere, they'll see your face. Maybe you're smiling, maybe you're silent, but it feels real. They'll wake up unsettled, unable to shake it. Then it spreads into memory. They'll hear your voice in their head during quiet moments, or catch themselves thinking how you'd react to something. That's the subconscious reaching out. Their brain is trying to reattach to the emotional frequency it once ignored. Like a song that keeps playing long after the radio's turned off, your energy still vibrates through their psyche. Mirror neurons, the same ones that help us empathize and connect, don't understand goodbye. They keep firing whenever a deep emotional bond has been formed. That's why even when months pass, the mind still replays your tone, your gestures, your presence. When you stop chasing, those mirror neurons lose their feedback loop and their subconscious starts searching for it. You can almost picture it, their mind reaching into the void, trying to find your signal, only to be met by silence. And that silence hits harder than any goodbye ever could. You might wonder why it happens this way. It's because emotional connection isn't simultaneous, it's staggered. One person always feels it sooner, the other later. And when you've already done the hard work of detachment, their emotions finally catch up. They begin to process what you've already mastered. You've reached calm. They've just entered the storm. That's emotional synchronization lag. A delayed echo of love, guilt, and longing bouncing back from a heart that thought it could outrun itself. They'll try to explain it away. I don't know why I keep thinking about them, they'll say, or I had the weirdest dream. But it's not weird, it's resonance. Energy doesn't disappear, it just changes direction. And now, all the waves you once sent out in heartbreak are returning to them as regret. The universe doesn't rush. It delivers emotion in perfect sequence. And here's the beautiful part. You don't have to do anything. You've already done the work. The stillness you built becomes magnetic. The peace you earned becomes the pull. While they're feeling restless, you're grounded. While they're haunted by fragments, you're whole. That's what real detachment does. It transfers the emotional weight back to where it belongs. Carl Jung once wrote, "When an inner situation is not made conscious, it appears outside as fate." That's what's happening to them now. They ignored their inner truth, and now it's surfacing through coincidences, dreams, and random waves of emotion. They're being chased by their own unconscious mind, and every thought of you is a messenger carrying unfinished feelings. So don't break the silence. Don't reach out just because you feel their energy tugging at yours. Let it happen. Let the subconscious pull do what words never could, because what's unfolding isn't fantasy. It's the psychological echo of shared frequency coming full circle. They're finally walking through the storm you already healed from. Write this in the comments right now. My energy speaks louder than words. Because it does. You don't have to chase what's already chasing you on a subconscious level. You've reclaimed your calm, and now their mind, whether they like it or not, is learning what your peace feels like from the outside. Stay detached. Stay centered. You're no longer the one reaching out. You're the one they can't stop reaching for. Number 7. The collapse of the replacement illusion. It always happens, my friends. The illusion cracks. The distraction loses its shine. The new person they swore was their upgrade starts to feel more like an echo of something they can't recreate. That's the collapse of the replacement illusion. The moment when the high of novelty burns out and they realize they didn't replace you, they just postponed missing you. When they first jumped into something new, it felt exciting. Their brain was on a dopamine rush, feeding off attention and novelty. Psychologists call it the hedonic curve, the thrill spike you get when something feels fresh and unfamiliar. But every spike has a crash, and that crash always comes faster when it's built on denial instead of healing. You can't build real connection on unfinished emotions. You can't erase attachment by pretending it never mattered. At first, they tell themselves it's better. This feels lighter, they say. Of course it does. Every beginning does. But give it time, and the same emptiness creeps in. Because it wasn't you that made things complicated. It was their inability to handle real depth. They weren't ready for love that exposed their shadows, so they ran toward comfort. Now they're realizing comfort without connection feels like noise. The hedonic crash curve explains it perfectly. The faster the pleasure rises, the quicker it fades. When they met you, the connection was steady, layered, emotional. You gave them safety and substance. With a rebound, it's all stimulus and surface. Their brain confuses excitement for fulfillment until it doesn't. Then the crash hits. The laughter starts to feel hollow. The touch lacks weight. Every sweet word from someone new reminds them of how much effort it takes to fake what used to come naturally with you. That's when the comparisons begin, not openly, not out loud, but silently, relentlessly. They'll notice how the new person doesn't understand their humor the same way, how conversations feel forced, how peace feels manufactured. They'll start thinking of how easily things flowed when you were around. They won't admit it, but the nostalgia creeps in like smoke. Because deep down, they know you can't replace real connection. You can only distract yourself from it for a while. The illusion starts to collapse in small moments, when the new person doesn't react the way you did, when a song triggers a memory, when the laughter feels performative. The mind starts comparing involuntarily, trying to measure the new high against the old peace, and peace always wins. Because what their ego craved can't compete with what their soul lost. They thought detachment meant freedom, but what they didn't realize is that freedom without meaning feels empty. They ran from emotional weight and ended up lost in emotional lightness. There's nothing there to anchor them. They're floating in a relationship made of cotton candy, sweet for a moment, then gone, leaving only stickiness and regret. And this is the part where pride starts cracking. They'll begin to see that all their justifications were just noise. They'll replay the way you understood them without words, the way your silence didn't feel awkward, the way your presence steadied them. The mind, once tricked by novelty, starts craving authenticity again. It's like coming down from a sugar rush. Everything normal tastes bland until you crave real nourishment. And you, my friends, were nourishment. You weren't fast food. You were a feast for the soul. They might try to hide it. They might double down on their illusion, post photos, overcompensate, but the truth never hides for long. It starts leaking through their tone, their eyes, their energy. Because once the replacement illusion collapses, they don't just miss you, they miss who they were when they were with you. They miss the feeling of being understood without having to perform. They miss the emotional gravity of being with someone real. So don't chase, don't watch, don't measure your worth against their temporary highs. Every rebound fades, every illusion crashes, every comparison leads back to the same realization. Nothing they run to will ever feel like what they walked away from. Write this in the comments right now. Nothing real can be replaced. Because it can't. Real connection doesn't compete. It outlasts. Your peace will still be glowing long after their distractions fade into dust. And when that happens, they won't just regret losing you. They'll realize they never truly left. They only delayed the moment they'd have to face what they ran from. You. Number 8. The reflection era, when they finally admit you were the lesson. Eventually, my friends, denial runs out of places to hide. The distractions lose their taste, the noise quiets down, and they're left staring at a version of themselves they barely recognize. That's when the reflection era begins. It's the stage where regret stops whispering and starts shouting. They finally admit it. Maybe not to you, maybe not out loud, but inside they know. You were the lesson they weren't wise enough to learn when they had the chance. At first, it's subtle. They'll replay small moments in their head, the way you laughed at things no one else found funny, the peace that hung in the air when you were both quiet, the comfort of being known without having to explain. These flashes come without warning, like emotional pop-ups. It hits them at the grocery store during a random song while scrolling at 2 a.m. The memories they tried to bury now return as teachers, showing them the weight of what they lost. Psychologists call this retrospective clarity, the mind's way of rearranging events to make sense of emotional truth. They start rewriting their story, not because they're manipulative, but because guilt demands a narrative. They'll tell themselves, "I wasn't ready," or "I didn't appreciate them enough." They start trying to soften their own role in the downfall, but every justification loops back to the same truth. You were real, and they weren't ready for real. Then comes the stalking phase. They won't admit it, but they'll check your updates. They'll watch your growth in silence. Every photo, every caption, every sign of peace will hit them harder than any argument ever could. Because now, you're living proof that they weren't your destruction. They were your detour. They thought leaving would give them freedom, but your glow-up shows them what freedom actually looks like: detachment, composure, and peace. That's when longing turns into action. They'll try to reconnect. Maybe a message, maybe a subtle like, maybe a, "Hey, how have you been?" It's their way of testing if the door is still open. But what they're really asking is, "Have you forgiven me enough to let me feel safe again?" The guilt they ignored has matured into humility. They've stopped trying to prove they were right. They just want to know they're not erased. And here's where the psychology flips. The emotional imprint wins. All the shortcuts they took to forget you become proof of how unforgettable you are. They realize they can't recreate what you gave, because what you gave wasn't performance. It was presence. You were honest in a world full of filters. You gave effort without ego. That kind of energy doesn't just disappear, it brands itself onto a person's soul. They might find company, but they won't find connection. They might find attraction, but not alignment. Because once someone's been loved by depth, surface level can't keep them satisfied. Now, you might wonder if this is your victory. It's not about victory. Stoicism teaches us that peace isn't found in payback, it's found in understanding. Their regret isn't your reward, it's their awakening. You don't need to gloat or entertain their guilt. You've already graduated from the lesson. You've learned to value presence, protect energy, and walk away from what doesn't meet you halfway. The reflection era belongs to them, but the calm after it belongs to you. They'll keep replaying, reanalyzing, rewriting, but you'll be somewhere higher, finally unbothered. Because you didn't just survive what they did, you evolved through it. You learned that love isn't about holding on. It's about letting go without losing yourself. That's the final power shift. You are no longer the one haunted. You are the one remembered. Write this in the comments right now. I was the lesson, not the loss. Because you were. And now the story has come full circle. They're just realizing what you already knew all along. When love is pure, it leaves a mark that even time can't erase. Stay still, stay powerful, stay untouchable. The universe always balances the energy, and this time it balanced it in your favor. Number 9. The comeback. Not because you waited, but because you outgrew them. There's a peace that arrives, my friends, when you finally realize you're not waiting anymore, not waiting for an apology, not waiting for closure, not even waiting for them to understand what they lost. That peace is power. It's the quiet kind, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself because it radiates naturally. That's what the comeback really is. Not them crawling back in guilt, but you walking forward in strength. Not revenge, but rebirth. They always come back, almost like clockwork. But this time, it's different, because when they finally reach out, they won't find the same version of you they left behind. The one who begged for clarity, who tried to explain, who waited for validation. You buried that version long ago. What stands in her place is someone calm, self-contained, and unshakably certain. They'll sense it immediately. The energy that used to orbit around them now shines from within you. They used to be your world. Now they're just a passing cloud in your sky. The universe has a funny way of serving poetic justice. It doesn't hand you revenge, it hands you evolution. It waits until you've healed so completely that the thing you once wanted most shows up, and you no longer need it. That's divine timing. That's karma in motion. The lesson wasn't about them realizing your worth. It was about you realizing you never had to prove it. When they come back, it won't be a cinematic moment. There's no dramatic music, no emotional reunion. It's quiet, awkward even. They'll try to reconnect, to test if there's still a way in, but something about your energy stops them. You've outgrown their chaos. You don't need closure anymore. You became it. You don't need them to see your value. You embody it. They'll look at you and feel a strange mix of admiration and discomfort because they're meeting the healed version of you, the one they were never ready for. This is where most people think the story ends, but it's actually where your story begins. Because now you understand something powerful. Sometimes the person who broke you was the universe's way of introducing you to your higher self. Every sleepless night, every unanswered question, every heartbreak, it all built the version of you that no longer chases validation. They gave you pain, but you turned it into presence. They left you in silence, but you learned how to turn silence into strength. That's not just growth, that's transformation. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." You've done that. You've dragged your pain into the light and turned it into wisdom. And when they look at you now, they'll feel it. They'll sense that the person they once had control over no longer exists. You've evolved into someone they can't manipulate, can't confuse, can't touch. That's the real punishment. Not your anger, but your indifference. Their return will be driven by curiosity, nostalgia, maybe even guilt, but your response will be driven by clarity. You'll listen, but you won't attach. You'll smile, but you won't reopen doors that lead nowhere. Because this isn't about winning them back. It's about understanding that you've already won. You won when you stopped needing their recognition to feel worthy. You won when you learned that peace doesn't come from being chosen. It comes from choosing yourself. So let them come back. Let them see what they lost. Let them stand in front of the person they once underestimated and realize the gap between who you were and who you've become. You won't need to prove anything. Your energy will say it all. You can't come back to someone who no longer lives where you left them. And that, my friends, is how the story ends. Not with revenge, not with bitterness, but with quiet evolution. You didn't lose them. You found yourself. You didn't wait for their return. You became someone they could never reach again. That's real power. So keep your peace, protect your growth, and remember, nothing real ever needs to chase. If this message hit home, press that like button, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe for more truth, strength, and clarity. Stay centered, stay grounded, and keep walking forward. Your comeback story is just getting started.